We are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Show Must Go On line. Today's guest is Kimberly Faye Greenberg. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. This is so exciting.
I'm so excited that you're here. Slimbo and my co-host, we're very pumped.
Hi, Slimbo. And my cats might join us, but we'll see. They're doing a little misbehaving right now.
A little misbehaving. We love it. We love a cat cameo.
We'll see. We'll see. You might hear them versus see them, but we'll see.
We also feel that here on the show.
Okay, as I like give them the side eye of like,
I know.
Behave. Okay.
No, I love it. And I love when he's doing this because it's kind of like a slightly rainy day here. So sometimes he's like barking up a storm and running in and out and it's like crazy. But when he's chill and just looking adorable like that, we love it.
Oh, he's super cute. Super cute.
Thank you. I'm so happy that you like him because that's actually like a prerequisite. I don't know if people know that, but you have to like Slimbo or else it's just like interview over.
I am there for you. I love dogs and cats. So there you go.
Perfect.
I grew up with dogs, now have cats. So there you go.
Excellent. Perfect. So, or perfect as I would say. And now that that's over with, let's get into your origin story. What got you into acting, singing, like all that jazz?
I have been doing this since I was very young, professionally since high school, but I started really dabbling in it in about the fourth grade. I was playing the violin in the school orchestra, and then I went to a summer camp that was all about performing and singing and dancing, and I was in dance class at that point in time. And so that's kind of where it started. And my first musical I ever saw was at a dinner theater. I forget what they were called, the Lazy Susan Dinner Theater. It was in Virginia, and it was Oliver. And I think that was about the same time, about fourth grade, because I was really getting into it at the time. So my parents took us to see Oliver, and that was really exciting. So then from that point on, here we are many, many moons later. Many moons later.
Not that many moons. Come on.
Enough moons have gone by.
That's awesome. We love a dinner theater and then transforming your life like that.
Yeah, I mean, I really got into theater in high school, and then I started dabbling in an internship, which I think kind of changed the game with me, at Music Circus in Sacramento. So I did that for 2 summers, and I was also performing. And then when I graduated high school, I took a semester off to perform as a professional actor. And then I went to junior college, and then I went to University of California, Irvine, majored in drama. Musical theater really was my specialty, but at that point in time, they didn't have a musical theater major. But we did get to study in New York for like a month. It was amazing. And then after I graduated from college, I actually graduated from college early because I ended up auditioning for a bunch of theaters that had come through town for summer stock at our school, which was, I think at that point in time, that was a norm. I'm sure they probably still do that, but their season started before school ended. So I got 2 offers and picked one, went to one. And then I started working from there because I was a hustler. When I went to do summer stock, I was just outside of LA, about 3 hours at PCPA, which is in Santa Maria, Solvang, California. And then I would drive on our days off the 3 hours to LA, and I would audition. And then I started just working at that point in time. And then several years later, I moved to New York, couple $100, 2 suitcases, just like in Annie. And here I am. Never left.
Here I am.
I know. But she says, what, $2, 3 bags, 1 me, NYC. So that was me. Except I didn't sing the song. I should have, right?
I know. I think you should have like gotten out of the car or the train or the plane or whatever and just like started singing.
I almost envision like the suitcases and it's like Maria and the Sound of Music. And instead of being on the French Alps, you're like in the middle of Times Square and you're like circling.
That would have been perfect. Yes.
Right.
We can rewrite history. I'm visualizing it now. I'm imagining you doing it. Yeah.
Great.
Perfect. So we're getting into all of this, and we have to talk about fabulous Fanny and your whole life and career that has gone with this Fanny Brice shows, I should say, because there's been multiple iterations, and it's just like really incredible to see someone who looks and sounds like her, which is like uncanny, and so you've weird. Like really done your research.
Yeah, Fanny came to me. I didn't necessarily seek her out. My first foray with Fanny was I was doing a production of Fiddler in Arizona, and they asked me to potentially play Fanny and Funny Girl in their following season. And I studied the role for a year because I knew that role was huge. Now, lo and behold, I didn't book it. But that's okay. That led to a series of other events. And now a year to my cats are now starting to hiss at each other. So prepare ye. Okay, so being that I was studying this role and she was teaching me a few things about my own performing prowess, I ended up being cast in a show called The Kid from Brooklyn, which was a musical about Danny Kaye playing Sylvia Fine. And I went on the road with that show for a bit of time, which led me fast forward a couple of years. I ended up opening another iteration, a different show about Danny Kaye called Danny and Sylvia, Off-Broadway, with the same Danny, Brian Childers, who plays Danny Kaye. And we were performing in that show, and somebody saw me in that show and said, "Hey, I have a Fanny Brice musical. I think you should workshop this show." So it was just funny how the universe has this way that, you build it, it will show up, but maybe not in the way that you thought. And so since that point in time, since opening through a series of events, I ended up workshopping the show, making the album, and then opening the show Off-Broadway alongside Danny and Sylvia. And then being like the first and only actress to play leading roles in 2 shows at the same time, which is crazy. But that opened, got great reviews by the Times and the Associated Press, and people started seeing it. And then I got asked to be in 2 other musicals that had Fanny in it, in as a character. So one was Speakeasy Dollhouse, Ziegfeld Midnight Frolics, based on the Midnight Frolics at Broadway's Liberty Theater, which is not a traditional Broadway house anymore, but it was an immersive theater event, and it was a Broadway house, and it still kind of is. It just doesn't have the seats anymore. It's hidden. You wouldn't even know it was there. And then also workshopping a show called Ghostlight about the story of Olive Thomas, who haunts the New Amsterdam, which is funny because that's where the Ziegfeld Follies were, so ironically. And I workshopped that for several years alongside Carolee Carmelo and Daisy Egan and a bunch of fabulous folks. And that still remains in the ether somewhere. So we'll see if anything ever comes of that. And then people are asking me for my own show. So that's where Fabulous Fanny Brice, the songs and stories of Fanny Brice, comes in. And I created the show with the help of quite a number of people. And over a series of about 4 years it took to develop the show. It was playing venues at the time, and people kept asking for it. And now 8 years later, it's still touring the country. And then during the pandemic, it now streams online. So you can find it online on stellartickets.com. And it's been named one of the best to stream, which is really exciting. So it's cool. Then when the pandemic's over, I've got several shows already lined up, live performances for 2022. And then it'll just keep kind of going. Over the pandemic, I did another musical as Fanny, which is workshopping. It's just in the beginning stages, but I don't know what will come of that. And Fanny just keeps coming into my life, and I because of all these things, I keep talking, but it's just like she's amazing, and I've had the opportunity to meet people who knew her. I've had the opportunity to read her unpublished memoir. Of course, I have devoured all the books on her. And I'm just thrilled that I can continue her legacy. She's so prolific in our American musical theater culture, in the influence of what she did as a whole. So it's cool that besides the people watching Barbara and Funny Girl, that I get to help expose her to the world. So here we are.
Here we are. Yes, 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 yes. It's so cool how much you've done with it and how much is available to find either on YouTube with the albums and everything like that. And then, of course, like you said, with Stellar. And we love Stellar. Stellar's so cool. You can actually like do it on your TV. So you can just like buy the ticket and sync it up. Like you can have a proper like viewing experience.
I know, it's really cool. I tell people it's like almost like going to the movies, except you're seeing theater because it's all theater-based stuff. So yeah, it's a really cool experience. I love it. It's really great.
Now, I think what some people might be interested to know is like with Funny Girl, they take some liberties as any type of movie would. But what I really like with your show is you're giving more of like her story and the history. And like, can you talk about what people can really expect from that performance?
Yeah, I mean, Funny Girl is focused on just really a little bit of her rise to fame, a little watered down version, obviously, and her relationship with Nick, which is also a bit of a watered down version, but to be expected. It's of its time, and it's still a wonderful love letter to Fanny Brice. Obviously, I will give it that because I love that show. I love the music. The thing about my show is I love to be able to showcase a little more of her personal stance on things that I've learned and read from the books I've read and her memoir and things like that. I touch on all three of her relationships, which are really fascinating, and just basically delving in a bit deeper. And with my show, I'm focusing more on stories and anecdotes, things like that. I'm not setting it up like a Wikipedia of facts from point A to she was a star and then this happened and then the end. You know what I mean? Like it's not quite set up like that way. I have the Off-Broadway show is a little bit more like that, which is valid in and of itself. But I wanted to make sure that I could really put my personal stamp on it, and bring her to the forefront in the best light possible, really, truly. Yeah, so that's kind of where it's coming from. It's definitely a different experience than Funny Girl. And it's interesting because it kind of works both ways. Like people who might see my show who haven't seen Funny Girl, because I definitely, at the end, there's a theatrical device as a solo show. I can do that with an ode to Funny Girl. Obviously, who cannot give an ode to Funny Girl? But it's cool because people who see the show want to then go watch Funny Girl. People who love Funny Girl and Barbara love to see my show just because of the added pieces that's not in Funny Girl. So, and plus too, just because of my uncanny resemblance and sound with her and like isms, it's that's also kind of cool. So, yeah, who knew? Who knew?
I like to think of them as hand in hand. Like you can see one or the other one first and then just like supplement it with the other. And it's just like a great viewing experience. Like you said, it doesn't have to be like one replaces the other.
No, that wasn't my goal in any way, because Funny Girl is such a huge part of me too, of like my experience of learning about this amazing woman. So absolutely. I mean, the show again, as a solo show, it's got an arc to it and a story to it, but it does end with Kim Greenberg's persona as this is why Fanny Brice is just super important to me and who I am, and you know what I mean. So there's a little love letter to Funny Girl and to Fanny.
Amazing. So I'm sure we'll talk about more of this later on, but I do want to touch on other subjects. But while we're here, why don't you tell everyone where they can find the show and like Stellar and the tickets and just everything?
Okay, so my website for the show is fabulousfannybriceshow.com. And from there, you can find out about how to purchase tickets and the show dates, or you could go direct to stellartickets.com and then just find my show and all the show listings on the front page. And there's also a bevy of other amazing Broadway entertainment there that you should definitely be checking out. And then if you just click on my show, you can easily purchase a ticket to stream. I have to be clear that it's not on demand. So it's not like you can sit down at any time and watch it. I wanted to make this like a real theater experience. So you have to choose a day and time that it's playing and then kind of commit to that, obviously, to watch it. And that's it. And obviously, if you Google me or you go to like KimberlyFayeGreenberg.com it'll lead you right to Fanny Brice. So if you Google me, you'll find out so much info that you probably never even wanted to know about me and Fanny Brice. Yeah, it's very easy, and it's an hour and 15 minutes. So it's a very quick watch. And I hope that if people tell me it makes them feel like they are in the theater watching it, because it's such an intimate experience, but in front of an audience. So you still feel the energy that was palpable when we were able to shoot it before the pandemic. So, yeah.
Yay! Love it.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me plug that. That's very exciting.
Please, we love a good plug.
Yay.
And to plug a mutual friend, and this is going to be a seamless transition here. You spoke about that your show isn't a Wikipedia page, but you are on the Fanny Brice Wikipedia page. And I saw that John from But a Song podcast had that on and had it in like the Instagram. He had like a nice little photo of that. So
I didn't even realize that. Amazing. Well, thank you, John.
Yay, John.
I'm on the Wikipedia Fanny Brice page. You can go check it out.
And so we met, and John, and this is how this is all circling back all together, through Multi-Hype. Now, I've talked a lot about Multi-Hype. I've had some wonderful other guests on, like Michael Kushner and Ashley Kate Adams and John and, Dylan. And we're really going through this whole Multi-Hype fan. But you are one of the 3 facilitators, and it has changed my life in so many ways. It's wonderful.
That makes me so happy. Yeah, we were going to teach this workshop before the pandemic even began. We started collaborating because the thing is, I'm not just Fanny Brice. I also work backstage as a Broadway wardrobe dresser. I'm a performing arts business coach. I'm known as the Broadway expert, basically because I teach about the business of working on Broadway and backstage on Broadway, which I think I might be one of very few who does that. And then I also create a lot of content about working on stage and backstage on Broadway. So it's kind of the business end versus like the history of Broadway. That's not my jam. But so I do all these things, and so does Ashley, and so does Michael. And I've known Ashley for quite a bit of time, and we've always talking about collaborating. And then, of course, I found Michael through the Dear Multi-Hyphenate podcast, which made me extremely excited. And at that exact same time, again, universe, Ashley was collaborating with Michael on a photography project. Little did I know. And she was like, Michael would be great for our class. And I was like, I know Michael. I love his podcast. Let's talk. So we formed this class. And because of the pandemic, we took it online, and we basically cater to any performing artist, whether you're a creator or a podcaster or a host or an actor or a singer or producer, writer, whatever it is. And you can do one of those things, but you can also do all those things. And we like to encourage everyone to do all the things that are unique to you and help them kind of feed each other so that they can either bring you more projects, or perhaps create some sort of income stream, or just be with you in the long haul for the rest of your life so that you have some control and onus over is that a word? I guess so. You have some control over your own career as you progress in life and in New York. It's just so important because there's so many things we don't have control over. We can control our own output and our own passions and our own projects. So we each have our own things that we do, which is really cool because they complement each other. So I'm coming at it from the business and marketing end because that's kind of where I'm best at, where I geek out at, and what I've always had to do and figure out for my whole life as a performer of kind of how to like continue to move forward and create momentum. So now I teach what I taught myself how to do to others, which is really cool. You know what I mean? Like, and it all works, and it's really great. So that's how we met. And we have another multi-hyphenate, what we call our beginner class, coming up at the end of May. So if anybody would like to participate, I think it's the week of, I'll look at my calendar so I can tell you, so I can plug it. It's the week of the 17th, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're interested in any of that, you can either email me or you can look at multihypeworkshop.com. And obviously, if you love to watch Broadway show, you've actually seen quite a number of people. You've seen all the facilitators and you've seen several of the people who've taken the class. So you can tell that it's a great place to be. Lots of fabulous people. Really, truly. It's really cool to see everyone who takes class like really fly. It's super exciting. It's just as inspiring for people who take the class as it is for us. I know that literally, a lot of that keeps me going in my own goals and my own career trajectory. I need that just as much as people who take it.
Totally. And it does create this wonderful networking opportunity that feels very organic, that it's not like networking for networking's sake. It's just like, hey, I have a series. You're an artist. I'd like to talk to artists. Let's make this work. And we've got Mary and Pedro and Susan coming on. Like literally the entire class is going to be on my series at some point. And we love
amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. And everyone is so unique and different. And we all have something to offer, which is, and being able to embrace it in a way that's like really empowering to whatever it is that you do, like your own unique you, is like, I think like the piece of the puzzle that doesn't get put out there enough. So I'm glad that we can impart that and then like watch everybody collaborate and like their own everybody's skills come together in different ways to like make lots of magic.
Yes, yes, yes. Very exciting. Love it. If anyone has questions from like the student perspective, please feel free to message me. I'd be happy to chat it up and let you know how great it is.
Yay!
Yay!
Jazz hands. Woo.
Jazz hands. Yes, we love a jazz hands. I do this quite often, actually. So in good company. So we are going to pivot here in a second, but I do want to make a quick comment that I realized my microphone was turned around because I was fixing something earlier. So if the audio sounds a little different or odd, please let me know. Awesome. Also, second, I noticed that sometimes your microphone is like going against your hair. Cool.
Sorry.
So no, it's fine. This is live theater. It happens.
Sorry, my hair, I have a lot of hair. I can't help it. I'm sorry, friends.
I feel that.
Sorry about that. Scratchy.
No, it's okay. Now that we're doing we're going to take a 2-second break here and I'm going to turn this other light off that I think is making me look a little orange and we don't love that. So we're going to fix that.
Oh, the back of your chair.
Yes.
I love that.
So hopefully this will be better and not worse. But you know what? It's actually kind of something in multi-hype that I learned is like sometimes it's okay to just take a minute and like do what you got to do and then circle back and keep going.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, we're not going to fault you for it. We're all at home, so it's all good.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. It's so funny. I always turn that light off, and I thought I did, and then I was doing this. And I looked in the back, and I was like, "Oh no, I kept it on. Oh no!"
I'm like, "Where's the mic? Let me just make sure my hair is still
Fix the hair, the lips,
the hair. I have my makeup. I'm so ready."
I know. So we've been talking about the pivot of the Fanny Brice and multi-hype and all that, but something that you do that I believe has to be really just in person would be the Broadway dresser aspect of your career.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So I've been doing that for a long time. On Broadway, I've been doing it since 2002, but I've done that previously for probably since high school professionally as a dresser. So and now I'm also a wardrobe supervisor too, depending on where I'm working. I'm the wardrobe supervisor at Jazz at Lincoln Center, and then I also am a swing dresser on Broadway. Now, of course, I've had some work, and I'll just knock on wood, with Jazz at Lincoln Center, which has been great because they are able to video some of their content. But of course, Broadway is not existent. And the show I was working on before the pandemic as a swing was Mean Girls. So we stopped, obviously, and then we closed about 5 months into the pandemic, we closed. Wow. So yeah, for me, it's been great because that for a lot of time, could be the bulk of my income. And health and pension, which is great, obviously, for anybody. And so, yeah, it's just something I've always balanced. And as a swing, it's been good for my acting because I've always been able to do both. When I was doing the 2 shows off Broadway at the same time, I was working on a Broadway show called Billy Elliot as a dresser on the same street on 46th Street. And I would literally do a matinee of Danny and Sylvia or One Night with Fanny Brice. And I would walk down the street and I would dress a show in Billy Elliot in my pin curls and my lashes. And then I would always get there just in time for the ballet girl quick change. And then I would leave and I would do my show at the theater at night, One Night with Fanny Brice or Danny and Sylvia. And that went on for quite a long time. So I've been very, very lucky in the fact that I work with some amazing Broadway supervisors who I have a great amount of respect for, and I'm just so grateful to them that they've always been very respectful of my work as an actor too. So I've always been able to balance those plates because, as a swing, I'm not in the building full time, but I am in the building a lot. And if I have a show, then obviously I can't be in the building. So it just depends on how things work out. But yeah, I've dressed, I always say over 20 because I've lost count, but I've probably dressed more like 25 to 28 shows on Broadway as a swing dresser. Yeah.
That is so impressive on so many levels.
It definitely takes a specific skill set. It's definitely a different skill set than being a dresser on a track. So if you don't know the definition of what a track is, that's basically for an actor or a backstage person. It's like what they do during a show. You just call them that specific job a track. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely a different skill set because as a swing, I have to be able to, just like my life, which is probably why I'm good at this, is, juggle multiple people's tracks and know them and be able to carry them out as they intended, not as I intended. So I have to follow their footsteps. I have to go when they say to go, you know what I mean? Have to dress the actor the way they dress the actor. So I have to be very amenable to just carrying things out the way they do them, which is, a different skill set for somebody and I kudos to them because I couldn't do what they do, which is do a track full time.
Right.
For a long period of time. So, yeah, I guess because I'm crazy multitasker girl, that just works really well in my brain because I will admit I get a little bored easily. I get bored easily if I'm doing the same thing again and again and again, which is probably why I'm also someone who likes to balance many plates. But I did Danny and Sylvia off-Broadway for 3 years, and I will say that wasn't boring at all in any means. So I don't want to give the wrong impression, but I think as far as daily life, you know what I mean? So there you go.
Totally. And also to just continue saying to your credit, you've stuck with Fanny Brice, but you've made it different and unique. So you can focus on something and expand on it.
Yeah. And I think too, what's interesting from my acting perspective is when I'm looking at a role or I'm playing a role for a long period of time, like Fanny, those things are still constantly evolving and changing. I think how I tend to perform, and I know with Danny and Sylvia, I was always looking for what's that new thing that not to say I'm doing something different on stage, but in my mind, what's that new emotion that I haven't found or that new reason for saying a line? And that's part of the fun too, as well, is how can you stay within the scope of the show and make something new and fresh, which is part of the job of an actor too. You know what I mean? When people see a show, they're supposed to be looking at it like it's the first time. So we as actors always have to be like reinventing the wheel in our head, not necessarily that's our job, not necessarily what's coming out of us might look the same, but in our head, it's like we got to change the wheel a little so that it's new and it's fresh and it's different. So I feel like that's the same thing with Fanny. And with Fanny, I'm constantly it's interesting. I constantly learn more and more interesting stuff. Even during the pandemic, I found stuff that I was like, oh, I didn't know that. Or maybe I did at one point and I didn't recall. Do you know what I mean? Because it's so much to learn. And then she's obviously teaching me stuff too as a performer. So yeah.
Amazing. So as a dresser, we spoke about how you've done over 20, 25 Broadway shows, but also the fact that you can learn multiple tracks during one time. And during multi-hype, you said this like ridiculous number. How many can you have in your head at one time?
Well, I would say the most I've ever done is on Lion King. And I want to say it was like 15 tracks or something like that. Now, be that as it may, I pretty much had them memorized because, again, I'm an actor who memorizes things. And when I do something, I usually know it once I do it once. But you do have little cards that you could cheat with if you wanted to. So, because sometimes things evolve. Exactly. But for the most part, yeah, it's easier if you have it memorized because you have to multitask a bunch of other things. You don't have time to read your notes during the quick change in the dark.
Right. Oh my goodness. Right. Don't you have like a little like headlight some people have or a little flashlight?
Yeah, like a bite light, which I think are on the outs now due to the pandemic, or like a little light here that you would looks like you would have if you were going to go underground, you know what I mean, coal mining, but they make them now for other things, and that's usually what dressers wear. Stick it on, press the button, or I sometimes wear it around my neck and I press the button. Yeah.
I just think that's so cool. When I was looking at your resume and I saw that these are just like a few of them, and some of them that you said, but Spring Awakening, Mean Girls, Follies, Billy Elliot, Lion King. I mean, it is just, these are some of my favorite shows. I loved seeing Spring Awakening. I saw Billy Elliot back in the day, like just really phenomenal shows. And it's cool that you were a part of so many.
Oh yeah, it is. It's so funny because sometimes I forget some of the things that I've done, but yes, it is cool to say that. And some shows I was on for a very long amount of time, and some shows I was on for a short amount of time. So it just, sometimes I was doing 2 or 3 different ones. Like Monday I was here, Tuesday I was here, Wednesday I was here. Yeah, it's just fun. It keeps it interesting, right?
That's so cool. So do you ever get to sit in the audience or like backstage and kind of actually get to see a show before you swing it?
Not normally, unless I've seen it as an audience member because I bought a ticket. Yeah, no, not really. Darn it all. I know. No, it doesn't quite work that way. Oh, I can't hear you. Something's happening.
Nope.
There we go.
I mute myself because Slimbo barks a bunch, and so I try to, but you get caught up on it.
It's sometimes.
Yeah, I think what's really cool about this conversation is, especially for people who are starting out as actors or writers or something in the theater industry, and they're like, I really want to be on Broadway, Off-Broadway, Lincoln Center, something in this community, but maybe the acting or the writing's not getting you there, directing, producing. There are so many other avenues. And then you can also do the singing and acting in your own, I'm going to take those words out of my mouth and put them there, but that you can do both. You can have everything.
Well, here's the thing, you know what I mean? Like, I've been doing this a long time, and as an actor and as a backstage person and in creating my own work. And it's not a linear journey, no matter any which way you look at it. So it helps to have your hands in many pots. And that might mean creating your own work for a while until you're maybe of the age that's castable for things that are out there right now. Maybe you're not the type that is being used a lot in a show or written. Maybe the way you sing isn't what the shows that are on Broadway right now. I mean, I look at it from my own perspective, which is I've been in New York over 20 years, and I've been very close to booking my production contract Broadway show. I've been in several Broadway BC FA, Broadway Carers benefits, and the Liberty, the Midnight Frolic show was a Broadway show, but it wasn't a production contract. But regardless of that, even I, as a performer, have been very close to booking my Broadway show, and it just hasn't happened yet. So you just don't know. However, with Fanny, you know, I've had things happen to me that I never thought would happen. I mean, albums and a review in the New York Times and my own accolades and things like that. So, and that bringing me a ton of other jobs. So there's no discounting anything that you do. As a dresser, I've met many people, creative people, who I've then collaborated with as a performer. One of the shows that I was workshopping that was almost to Broadway was somebody I met through working backstage, and that was me as an actor. So, you know what I mean? So like, you just never know. And if you can keep your hands in and it's in a few pots, you know, not in everything, because that's really hard to balance, but at least in the pots that you're uniquely good at, that you're passionate about, they will help to feed the others, which is what I just like to share with everybody, because sometimes it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, and sometimes things don't happen right away, and you gotta create momentum in another way.
Yep. And I also think the pandemic is showing that Broadway isn't necessarily the pinnacle that we've all thought that it was.
Yeah.
And having something like your filmed version that you can just stream and anyone can see it anywhere is not just cool because, hey, we need live theater and this is the closest type thing that we'll get for the time being, but also accessibility wise, I think that is just so wonderful because it's very affordable. It's really nicely done. And if, you know, sometimes leaving your house or you can't really go across the country or the world, I mean, it's just so wonderful that it stream everywhere in the world.
My show? Yeah. Anybody from anywhere can buy a ticket.
How cool is that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course. But yeah, I mean, Broadway is a piece of theater. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many other opportunities out there. Most of us who are actors who live in New York City are not working on Broadway. We're auditioning in New York, and then we're working out of town somewhere. I mean, I have worked regionally all over the place. And then I've done Off-Broadway and Off-Broadway, which are a couple of different, an Off-Broadway house, if anybody's doesn't know what that is, it's basically a Broadway house, but it only has up to 499 seats. And then an Off-Broadway theater or show is a show that's in a theater in New York that's under 99 seats. So those are like the actual differences between the theater space in New York City, as far as whether or not you're in a Broadway show or you're in an Off-Broadway show or you're in an Off-Broadway show, you know what I mean? So that's truly the difference. Of course, the money is a little bit different as well, but I digress. But there's so many other avenues that you can pursue work as a performer besides Broadway. And I love Broadway. I'd love to have my Broadway show when that comes. Who knows? God willing. But with that said, it's great to know there's all these other things and opportunities out there. And then too, I have my show to as well.
So many things happening. We are manifesting everything good happening with you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes. So sticking with the Broadway expert, talking about Broadway here. And, you know, I love that you put out a lot of free videos for people, actors, and just people in the theater industry to kind of keep them going. But you really do a lot of not just that, but there's one-on-one sessions. Like, talk about that whole part of your life and your job.
So as the Broadway expert / performing arts consultant, I offer a bunch of things. I offer a lot of free content, which you can find on my social media, even on my website, on many platforms that I've written on, like Backstage and Theater Nerds, a bunch of articles. And then I offer one-on-one sessions for actors, creatives, those who work backstage, and a lot of now, even people who are not performers at all. But because I have a savvy with helping with marketing strategy and resumes and things like that and cover letters, I'm able to even branch out beyond the immediate performing arts, like people, whether they're on stage or backstage. So I do like one-on-one sessions. And then I have several online courses that people can take on their own. I have a how to get an agent class. I have a branding class. And luckily, not luckily, it's awesome. Like the people who take my how to get an agent class, I have so many success stories. It's really cool. But my motto is like, nothing's a secret. You know what I mean? Let me just share with you the action plan and information that you need to just get what you came here for. Do you know what I mean? But I do leave the onus on the person who bought it to actually like do the work. Do you know what I mean? Like I can't do the work for you. You have to do the work, but here's everything that you need to be able to do the work. So I have that. And then of course I teach multi-hype with Ashley and Michael. And I mean, I've taught classes, obviously not during the pandemic. It's a whole different thing during the pandemic as far as any of this is concerned, because there's a lot of other things going on that has nothing to do with anybody wanting to work on career stuff at the moment. However, we are slowly moving out of that, so that's good. But I've taught classes for colleges and lectures, and I've done a lecture at like a film festival about performing and things like that. So I kind of do a little bit of anything of what people ask me that I can, information that I can impart to them. I'll say, okay, yeah, sure, I can do that.
Yes, and.
Yes, and. Yes, and.
I really like what you said about the homework too, because there were a lot of things that I did the week of multi-hype that I've been like, oh, I should update my resume. Oh, I should update my website. Oh, I should, like, there were a lot of things that I was like, I know I should do it, but I don't necessarily know what I should do. And like, is anyone going to look at it? And like, just having these other people to also hold you accountable and give you feedback. So having a week of, it's not just like, okay, here's what you should do, go, and then, it never is talked about again. It's like Monday we talk about something, and then Wednesday you can show it, and then there's like the final presentation on Friday. And to me, like, especially now in a pandemic where structure is just a little loosey-goosey, and what is time, Jeremy,
right, yeah. It's hard because the way I've found success, and we do implement this in multi-hype, is creating some sort of structure for myself when there isn't one. Otherwise, you get lost in social, you get lost in streaming on the Netflix, on TV, which is totally valid. And you do need to do that. Do not get me wrong. I've had my fair share. But creating structure to get things done is imperative. And even with me, I have the same thoughts. In like recently, I'm like, oh, auditions. I have a lot of auditions coming up. I got to get that resume looking better than it did a year ago. Let's figure out when I can do that. Do you know what I mean? And make some accountability. And I just believe that the more you can do your own homework, first, if you can ask others questions to help you move further faster, great. Work smarter, not harder. But then you got to take that into your homework. You got to know why, and the reasons are you're going to get ahead by doing these things. Otherwise, you're going to keep going in circles, doing the same things over and over again, and it's not going to help you.
Yep. Knowing smart, working, what was that? Smarter, not harder.
Smarter, not harder. Working smarter, not hard. And my former roommate, who is also named Kimberly, taught me that. So Kimberly, if you're watching, shout out to you.
Thank you. Shout out to double Kim's. Kim squared.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kim, we were watching Kim's Convenience on Netflix. It's so good.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
So, but this is not a plug for that. So
it's all good because it's all good.
So now is the time to chat about a nonprofit or charity that you want to shout out.
Oh, okay. Well, I would love to shout out Sing for Your Seniors, which was started by Jackie Vanderbeck, and we grew up together in Sacramento, California. So I am very lucky to sing with his organization when my schedule allows. And basically, they're bringing music via professional performers, a lot of whom are on Broadway or work on Broadway in some capacity, to seniors who need it, who can't either leave their homes or are, in facilities or have dementia or Alzheimer's. And basically they just offer sessions on a weekly basis, some for the public to come. And then we also a lot of time go to specific communities to do it. When we weren't in the pandemic, we would go in person. And now that we're in the pandemic, it's all been virtual. So we've been able to do all these great singing 1 hour sessions online, which has been really cool. And it's very close to my heart because I've been doing it for a long time. I wish I could give more of my time than I do, but whenever I'm able to do it, it's pretty spectacular. Again, it's one of those things where through the gift of music, you're giving to those listening, but it also comes right back to you. It's really fulfilling as far as fills up your soul. And just to see the power of music is also really cool as well. So that's a great organization. They've been lucky to have some grants, again, from Broadway Cares, and support them. Or if you're a performer, please go visit their website, Sing for Your Seniors, so that you can volunteer. People now, because of the transition to virtual, people from all over the country now can participate. And they also have, I think there's a group of people based out of other places too for when they're live. They're not just in New York anymore.
That's awesome. And I love how accessible it is. Once again, we are just talking about accessibility today. Fabulous. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. You're welcome. My pleasure.
Mm-hmm. So before we wrap things up, I do have to ask this question because I just think it's so fun. And are there any moments as you're performing as Fanny that really people always come up to you afterwards and they're like, oh my God, that one song, that one number, I couldn't believe it. You're just like her.
Oh, goodness. It's so interesting because it's only like a really hiccup in my show, but I have a little ode to Baby Snooks close to the end of the show when I do a couple, just literally teensy snippets. And it's cool because a lot of times people come to me after the show and I grew up listening to Baby Snooks on the radio. We used to sit on my couch and turn the radio on with my parents. And that really, really brought me back. So that's one of those things when I'm singing the stuff from Funny Girl at the end, it's really cool as me. That's cool too. And, it's interesting because a lot of people, when I'm singing as Fanny, when I'm singing her tunes through most of the show, people are like, oh, I didn't know that was a Fanny Brice tune. Oh, that's so cool. Or, wow, you sound just like her. So I don't think there's really one song, but I will say the Baby Snook stuff gets a lot of reactions. And it's so funny because it's just a teeny bit of my show, but that really takes people back to when they were with their families, on the couch, listening to her, which is really cool.
It is those small moments, the little odes for the true fans or for, people who grew up. I think those are really the most special because a song or even just a snippet can transport you. It's one of the coolest things actually about music is you can hear just an opening few notes and all of a sudden your whole body is kind of transported back to this other time. I love that feeling.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. I mean, just being able to take anybody on a journey in whatever show it is pretty spectacular. To be able to affect somebody in that way, whether it's emotionally or the ability to lose themselves when things are tough, any of that. That's part of the reason too why I'm so thankful that I was able to pivot to streaming, because I think the big piece of my show is being able to just literally bring joy. I mean, Fanny Brice brought joy throughout the depression, through some pretty tough times when she was alive. And the fact that I can now, through her, bring her kind of back in the same kind of way to bring just joy to people is really powerful.
Yes. I mean, she was such a trailblazer. And you've talked a lot about how without her, I mean, women empowerment in comedy, SNL.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. She was the first female comedian, literally. She was the first crossover artist to do everything. She was
talk about a multi-hype.
I know, she was literally a multi-hype. I mean, she was really the first huge torch singer. She was the first to infuse her art with the Yiddish cultural Jewish humor in a way that wasn't negative. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that also appealed to so many other people who weren't Jewish because she was looking at it from an immigrant perspective of like, of trying to assimilate into America. And that was so relatable. You know what I mean? So there's so many things. And like, just as being the first comedian, yeah, she completely led the way for women today. Literally, if it was not for her, I don't know where. I'm sure we may still be here, but I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, how much moxie did that take? I mean, for her to figure out that was like the thing. You know what I mean? So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. And it's really cool. I've learned so much more about her. And of course, you getting ready for this interview. And I just like, you know, of course, there's Funny Girl, the musical, the movie, and then the second movie and all that. But really, like, we should be talking about her even more because she.
Yeah. Well, you know, she's starting to get her due because I think even I was saying this to somebody else the other day, like maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I think people weren't really talking about her. But then when it came to Boardwalk Empire, okay, so maybe a little longer than that, Boardwalk Empire and Glee, and then Gilmore Girls and Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and a few other, Can You Ever Forgive Me? They've all had odes to Fanny Brice, not just Funny Girl, but the actual Fanny Brice. So now people are starting to go, oh wait, Fanny, who's that? You know what I mean? Which is really exciting because she got tons of recognition when she was alive, but like we have lost a bit of sight of of her influence. So it's cool to see kind of her come back around in the art of others, you know, when they're putting it out into the universe. It's very cool.
So then you as an artist and as a performer, when you do sing at any moment, Don't Rain on My Parade, what's that feeling that goes through you?
I love that song. It's my favorite song of all time. It was my go-to audition song that got me called back for so many Broadway shows for so many years. I just love it. It's the most powerful anthem that I think any female singer could sing. I mean, there are a few others that exist, but I mean, come on, when that music starts, you know what I mean? Like, how can you even like not love it? Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
Oh yeah. My heart starts racing. It's
like, oh my God, it's amazing. It's amazing how it's just amazing. I just can't. Yeah.
I can't
even.
It's so good. So now is the perfect time to plug everything and anything, all the socials, anything that you want to share, just throw it out there.
All right. So the easiest way to find me is to just type my name into Google and everything will pop up. So that's the easiest. But you can go to KimberlyFayeGreenberg.com to find out about my actor life, but you'll find everything else there too. You can go to thebroadwayexpert.com if you want to work with me or coach with me, look at my free content as far as that's concerned. You can go to fabulousfannybriceshow.com. That's everything and anything having to do with my Fanny Brice show. And then stellartickets.com where you can find Fanny. My next show that it streams is May 8th. And then I usually have between 3 and 4 shows a month. So right now we have them scheduled through June, and then I'll add more. I usually add more shows, you know, about a month or so in advance. So keep checking back so you can see a show. And then social, literally type my name into any social media thing and you'll find me very easily. I make sure I'm very easily findable with my name. So Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, Facebook. I was about to say Twister. Facebook. Yeah, not Twister. Facebook. So all the fun places. Just type in my name. There I am.
Twist and shout.
I'm like, did you drink something before you had this interview? No.
I know. It's like, is that water or?
Is that water? Yes, it's water.
It's so funny. Hey, look, it's a Friday, it's Shabbat. We're all kind of getting into that spirit. Then y'all can find me at B-Way Show. That's BWAYSHO and B-Way Show Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, wherever. Same with you. If you type in B-Way Show, you'll find me. And we have the Showtreons, which are the BY Show Patreon squad. They're pretty awesome. We do weekly trivia and monthly video chats. And it's just become a really cool community. As we were talking about with Multi-Hype, it's been nice having this community throughout the pandemic that I've really been able to like lean on both emotionally and, you know, like it's nice to just see faces every week. And that's been a real positive in my life. So is there anything else that you came into today wanting to make sure to say out? To get out there to your fans?
No, you are like, you're all encompassing here. This was like just the best conversation ever. So fun. Seriously, so fun.
I'm honored.
I'm like in awe of you and this thing you've created. It's kind of amazing. And you're so relaxed and easy to talk to.
What's the goal here?
Yeah, it's
really
cool.
Like to chill. You know, it's just on a quick note on that. It's throughout the pandemic, I've really realized like people just need to connect. And that's really what I wanted this to be was, you know, yes, I'm a reporter and they're interviews, but it's really just a conversation. And I want people to really just get oh, you're just sitting and on two friends chatting. And I'm glad that that's coming through.
Yeah, it's totally coming through. It's really cool.
Well, you are wonderful. I appreciate you. I can't wait to see you in person.
Yay, soon.
It's gonna happen.
It is. It's gonna happen. Happen sometimes. Okay.
And on that note,
nobody's gonna rain on our parade. All right, there we go.
Perfect. Thank you. You know, I needed that, and now I can go into the weekend feeling good. Perfect. Well, you're wonderful. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Everyone watching, thank you for watching. If you're watching in the future, remember that these stellar shows are still going on. So it doesn't matter when you're watching this. Just stay tuned because you can always catch it then. And on that note, we'll see you at the show. Bye, y'all.
Bye, everybody.